Hello students, welcome back. Second PUC economics class. So in previous class we started discussing about national income accounting, very important chapter. So in that I explained only meaning of national income and also I introduced few topics, few concepts about national income. So national income is nothing but value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a year. Value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a year. That means in a particular year in a country. So how many goods and services? It is not only how many, that is value of all final goods and services. Here the final, it's very important word, value of goods and services. So produced in a country during a year. Simple value means that is money value, because money is a measuring like a value of goods and services. Through money only we can identify, we can measure the value of goods and services. That's why the money value of all goods and services produced in a country during a year. It's very simple answer. The money value of all goods and services produced in a country during a year is called national income. In other words, already explained, sum total of all the final goods and services. Final is very important. Final goods and services produced in a country and net income from abroad. So what we are receiving income from abroad also, that is calculated as a national income. In other words, net money value of all the final goods and services produced by the normal residents. Normal residents means those who are born here only, and those who are continuing their life in home country only, they are called as normal residents. So normal residents of a country during an accounting year. Okay, in other words, it is defined as sum total of factor incomes occurring to normal residents of a country in a given period of time, especially it's a year. Simple. So you have to understand the meaning. Simple. National income is value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a year. Simple. Value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a year. So national income measures the rate of economic growth of a nation. You know that very well. So national income explains the level of welfare of the people, wealth of the economy, like development stage, and how the income is distributing, and contribution of different sectors. Contribution of different sectors means like how much goods and services produced, the value of how much contribution providing to the development of the country, like from the primary sector, from the secondary sector, from the tertiary sector, that is from the agriculture sector, from the industrial sector, from the service sector, how much products contribution. Okay, national income measures the rate of economic growth, because national income is one and only indicator to calculate whether country is developed or not. So that's why it is one and only instrument. The point is how the country will develop, that is depends upon the goods and services. Especially to produce goods and services we need resources. Not only resources, we need techniques also, technology also. So the economic wealth or well-being does not depends on the possession of resources. The only thing is how the resources are used. What purpose? To generating flow of production. Flow of production means, that is, how does flow of production increase? Flow of production is only helpful to the development of an economy. So then how we can increase the flow of production? Flow of production means people combine their energies with natural and man-made environment. Don't forget how the flow of production will arise. Flow of production means, see, people combine their energies with natural and man-made environment within a certain social and technological structure. Social and technological structure, that is only utilizing the natural resources with manpower, especially technology. Through using the technology, we should produce goods and services. That is not only possible to produce goods and services like natural resources. So we should we should combine which one? Natural resources and man-made resources. Man-made resources like technology, technique. Okay. So using this, we should produce goods and services. That time only the flow of production will be increased. So in modern economy, the flow of production arises, especially the production of commodities like goods and services. Millions of enterprises in our country, we can see so many enterprises, so many companies, either large or small. In a country, we can see so many companies or so many enterprises. What purpose? To produce goods and services. So the flow of production will arise through using of natural resources and man-made resources, combining the natural resources and man-made resources. So when they are producing goods and services, that time only the flow of production will be arise. If the flow of production will be arise, the national income also arise. So in modern economy, you know that the flow of production arises out of production of commodities. If the production of commodities increase, flow of production also increase. So to produce goods and services in our country, there are so many enterprises or companies. So after producing goods and services, so what will happen? What they will do? See what happens to these commodities after being produced. So many companies are there, either small, either large. So after completing the production of goods and services, what they will do? That is, each producer of commodities intends to sell his output. It's a compulsory, because to get profit and to provide to distribute goods and services, compulsory in our country. To increase the flow of production, all the companies or enterprises will produce goods and services, either they are small, either they are large. So what happens to these commodities after being produced? What happens? So each producer of commodities intends to sell his output. So from the smallest items like pins, buttons, you know that buttons, pins, like very smallest things, and also the largest like aeroplanes, automobiles, machineries, any sellable goods, what they are produced, compulsory they should sell in the market. Even services like doctor services, like lawyer services, financial consultant. Okay, so these are also providing. These are all called as services. So the final, like all these, even services or goods and services after production, definitely they should be sell in the market. So while selling, we should divide few goods and services like final goods, capital goods, consumer goods, intermediate goods. We can say like that, structure of goods and services. So what is the scope? What is the structure? What are the shape? Like they are either final goods, either capital goods, either intermediate goods, either consumer goods. We have to discuss, because that is depends upon their nature. The goods depends upon their nature. So especially one by one we have to discuss. First one, final goods. So final goods means goods which are purchased for final use. Are called final goods. So final use means there is no another work from this. There is no another stage. Goods which are used for final use, especially will not pass through any more stages. Of production. That means, so when you are purchasing goods and services, what purpose you have to purchase? We have to utilize that one. There is no another stage. For example, if you purchase like sugar, like any necessary things. For example, like sugar. If a person if a person like a household, they purchased by the sugar to for their home purpose only, for their home purpose, that is considered as a final use or final good. The same sugar purchased by a hotelier or restaurant, those who are running restaurants, what purpose? To using that sugar, sell of which one? Tea, coffee, like sweet things. So when they are utilizing this one, what purpose they are using sugar, same sugar, to produce sweet, to, and also they are using for coffee, tea. What purpose? They are selling that one, they are selling. But the same sugar purchased by a person for their family members, for especially for their home use. So that time, that is not included. Which one? So simple, final use means those goods which are purchased for final use, those goods which are purchased for final use. See, which are used for goods which are used for final, there is no further stage and will not pass through any more stages, will not pass through any more stages of production or transformation, is called which one? Final good. So again I have to explain. See, final goods means goods which are purchased for final use. Example, just imagination. See, for example of final goods, once it will be sold, it will move out of the economic flow. It will move out of the economic flow. It will not calculating after that. While calculating national income, we have to calculate only final goods. If it once purchased by a consumer, it will not calculate into national income. But the first thing only, when the consumer or any other person purchasing first, that time only it will be calculated to national income. So once it moves out from the economic flow, once it will purchased by person or consumer, so it will not calculate into national income. So for example, cooking, especially cooking, for cooking we are purchasing goods and services. See, a person, for example, sugar purchased by a housewife, that is final good. Why? Because they are using for their home purpose, for their family members. Okay, that is compulsory considered as a national income, because they are purchasing for their final use. A household, like a housewife purchasing the sugar for their home purpose, for their family members, that is called as final use. The same thing purchased by a hotelier or like intermediate, like which one, a restaurant, for the sake of producing or using or making which one, any sweets, and using for like making tea, coffee. What purpose? They decided to sell, the hotel person, they decided to sell the coffee, tea, and like sweets. So that time the same sugar considered as a intermediate goods. Don't forget, if sugar purchased by housewife, that time the sugar is considered as a final use. Why? Because they are not selling, they are using for their family members, for home purpose. But the same sugar purchased by a hotelier, why? Because he is using which one? The sugar he is using to make which one, sweets, like and preparing tea, coffee. What purpose? To sell. That time that same sugar is considered as a intermediate goods. Okay. So that's why the good is depends upon the which one, nature of usage. Usage means whether they are using for final use or using the same thing for which one, producing another. So that's why very important. So final goods means goods which are used for final, and will not pass through any more stages of production, So if once it moved from the economic flow, it once purchased by a person, that time it will pass from economic flow. It will not calculate into, after that it will not calculate into national income, because if we count again that same thing, that will be considered as a double counting. That's why after that it is if the same thing you are using the same good using for production of any another good, that time it is considered as a intermediate goods. It is considered as a intermediate goods. So clear, the consumer may be an individual or enterprise. The goods and services purchased by the entity might be for final use or use in further production. Okay, if we utilize the same thing in the further production, that time the same commodity will be considered as a intermediate goods. So using the same commodity not for any further production, that time also that is called as a final use. One more example, see, a farmer producing cotton. A farmer producing cotton sells it to a spinning mill, where the raw cotton undergoes the transformation into yarn. Simple, a farmer producing the cotton, selling it to the mill. What purpose? To make yarn. The yarn sold to a textile mill. Yarn sold to a textile mill through the productive forces. So here these are all what we can say like that intermediate goods, because a farmer producing cotton is selling to the spinning mill. What purpose? To make yarn. After that, that yarn sold to a textile mill. What purpose? To produce cloth. Then the cloth is transferred through another product like a process into the different types of cloths. So here the cloth is final good. But even cotton, like a yarn, these are all called what we can say intermediate goods. Intermediate goods nothing but the goods which are used for further production, produced by some producer, used by another producer, produced by some producer, used by some other producer. What purpose? To produce another commodity. That is intermediate good. But final use means, so those which are used for final use, so which is ready for use, the final thing. Okay, so here you have to understand this example. A farmer producing cotton is not a final good. So that one he has sell to the which one is a transformation to yarn. That is also not a final good. The yarn sold to a textile mill. That is also final good. So after that yarn, it's transformed into cloth. So cloth is final use. So especially into cloth is final good, and yarn, cotton, these are all things are what we can say intermediate goods. And one more example also I will explain. What purpose? For the final goods, because once it has been out from the economic flow, it will be not calculating into national income. Once it's sold, which one? The final goods, once it will sold, after that it will not calculate into national income. So national income is the money value of all final goods. That's why I explained, I already told you final is very important. See, the national income is the money value of all final goods and services produced in a country during a particular period of time. During a year. So we cannot calculate which one double counting. So to avoid double counting only, we were counting only final goods. For example, so many goods were purchased. What purpose? To cooking. Such final goods are transformed their consumption. Depends upon the consumption, because when we are purchasing tea leaves, suppose a consumer purchases the tea leaves, that is not consumed in that form. It is not possible to consume in the same form. What we have to do? They are used to drinkable tea. Okay, as in a kitchen we can observe so many goods, they should be converted into another goods. So cooking at home is not an economic activity. Don't forget, cooking at home is not an economic activity. But the same cooking in the hotels, restaurants, to decided to sell, that time only that is considered as economic activity. If they are doing same at home, that time that is not calculated into national income. That is not considered as an economic activity. Okay, so home cooked food is not sold to the market, right? Home cooked food is not sold to the market. If the same cooking in a restaurant, that is considered, because they are decided to sell to customers. They are decided to sell the same cooking they are doing in the restaurant. That time, that should be the cooked product will be sold to the customers. That's why that is considered as a final good. Home cooking is not an economic activity. The same cooking, if the people are doing in where restaurants, hotels, what purpose they are decided to sell, that time that is considered as a final good. So once the goods are out from economic flow, that will be not considered as a final good. So they are considered as a intermediate goods. So the home purpose what they are doing, that is not an economic activity. The same thing if they are doing in restaurants, hotels, that is called as a final good. Are you clear? So this is called as final goods. Final goods are very important because it will come for 4 marks. It will come for 4 marks. Goods which are used for final use. Goods which are used for final goods. Otherwise we can say like that, which are used for final goods and will not pass through any more stages of production. There is no further production. They are using for final use. Final use means, so using that they should take satisfaction, but not using that they are not possible to sell any goods and services. If they are doing same thing, like if they are using that commodity, they are producing goods and services and they are selling, means that is not considered as a final good. If the people are purchasing goods and using that they are producing goods and services and they are selling the same thing, that time that is not considered as a final good. Okay. The final good means there is no another production process. There is no another production process. Simple, goods which are used for final. Goods which are used for final and will not pass through any more stages of production or transformation is called final good. Okay. So remaining capital goods, intermediate goods, consumer goods, I will explain in next class. Thank you.